it's time to trade in your sedan for something a little bit bigger, maybe something a little bit higher. You don't want something huge, but you want something that's going to hold your family of maybe 3 or now 4. And you don't want to go back to Germany to another X3 or another X5 or an Audi or whatever. Everyone has all of those SUVs. You don't really get any help from Japan either, because Acura and Infiniti, it's all the same situation. That's what everybody has. And you know what? You think of yourself as, I don't know, a little bit more special than that. You think of yourself as a little bit more interesting than that. So what do? Well, it turns out Italy has your answer. Italy is happy to provide to you the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. So where does the name Stelvio come from anyway? Let me turn it over to Top Gear to help explain it.
But then, after we popped over the border and back into Italy, we found a cherry for the top of our cake. The Stelvio Pass. 15 miles of asphalt spaghetti draped on an Alp. It was stunning.
So as always, we have to talk about the motor. And in this case, it's a turbocharged 4-cylinder that makes about 300 horsepower and about 300 pound-feet of torque. As with almost any other turbocharged motor, particularly turbocharged 4-cylinders, it doesn't really feel that good until you get higher up in the rev range, until you get on boost. Once you get on boost, though, then it has some pretty good grunt. And I've been really impressed by how well I've been able to carve through traffic thanks to this motor and as well to the nice suspension bits that are on top of it. This thing handles well and moves much quicker than I feel like it should. All told, I feel like it's a pretty zippy car. It's the best word I can come up with for it. It's just zippy, and that's a really nice thing to have in an SUV that typically you think of as slow and oftentimes very lethargic. Oftentimes they feel like boats, and this doesn't feel like that at all. This feels like a go-kart, but a very, very tall one. Starting with the exterior, I really like the look of this Alfa Romeo Stelvio. I am not the biggest SUV kind of guy, but I think this thing is quite pretty and looks very different and unique compared to the X3s or equivalent of the world. One thing, though, that I don't really care for are these wheels. I think actually the wheels design is quite nice and interesting and different, but I really feel like that this truck needs another inch or so on these wheels. These are 19 inches, and I think 20 would make a big difference. This much sidewall just doesn't look that great to me. It would be one thing if this had real off-roading ambitions, but to be honest, it's designed to conquer the concrete jungle like we're in right now. And because of that, these just look really small to me. Like, don't you think it would look so much better with another inch? But be that as it may, on the plus side, however, I do really love this exterior paint. This black paint has this kind of like freckles in it, and I don't know how well it's coming across in the video, but it looks really, really good, especially up close. And it gives it a nice little touch that you wouldn't necessarily see unless you get like right on top of it. So I really do care for that, and I do think that looks quite great. So last night I was taking some night shots of the Stelvio, and I had made sure that the headlights were on, and in the center of the rotary dial for the headlights there was a push button that had the universal symbol for fog lamps on it. And so I hit it, and then I came around the front and I went to take my photographs, and I realized, wait a second, the only lights I see are the main headlamps. I don't see anything down low, which I would expect for fog lamps. And looking at it in the daytime, there are no fog lamps. So I thought to myself, well, what is that switch about then? Well, I remember having read back in the day that a lot of German or other European cars would have one or more rear fog lamps. And it was never clear to me whether that was for rearward visibility for the driver or perhaps for other cars to see you in the fog, which is I think what it was about. Nevertheless, I went around to the back of the Stelvio, and sure enough, there were these just obnoxiously bright taillights lit. So I went back to the driver's seat, flipped the switch off, and they went out. So sure enough, this car does have fog lamps, but unlike any other car I've ever driven, they're in the back and not in the front. I just thought that was a neat thing that I'd never really seen before. So now we should talk about the interior of the Stelvio, and although by and large it was not that remarkable, there were some things in there that I really thought were interesting. The interior of the Stelvio looks and feels a lot like the Giulia. I really like the look and feel of it, and I particularly like the dark oak wood trim, which is an option on this car. It's a really nice way to feel like you're in an upscale luxury hotel rather than like an 1800s smoking room. I don't feel like I need to have a smoker's jacket on like I do in other cars with really, really dark trim. The one thing, though, that the interior really falls down on is the rear visibility. Back here, this is just no good. This is just a postage stamp or really like a letterbox of visibility, and it really annoys me. I understand why, because the roofline is the way it is, but at the same time, it really hampers my ability to see behind me, although the mirrors are just fine, and in reality, it is sufficient, but it's strikingly small compared to almost any other car I've driven.
One extremely nice feature about the interior of the Stelvio is this little bucket that they have for a smartphone in between the cup holders. It's really clever and I really dig it. As to be expected from an SUV, it's really easy to get into the back of the Stelvio. I'm about 6 feet tall and I find that I fit in the back just fine. As with my Giulia review, it's worth talking about car seat installation. It was actually pretty good, but not great. The anchor points for the bottom of the latch setup were at a weird angle, which was a little bit frustrating. On the bigger seat in particular, that was tough. On the new infant, smaller seat, though, no problem. The trunk space in the Stelvio is pretty good, especially given the swooping roofline. To pop the seats, you pull levers on the right or on the left, and you just give the seats a nice little shove. Additionally, to get the privacy cover out, you just pinch a little handle toward the inside and then pull up and out. It works out pretty easily. Oh, hey there, little buddy.
Hi, Dad.
Another neat trunk-related feature is being able to set how high the trunk lid opens. I've accelerated the video speed here, but you can see there's 4 different settings plus another custom one if you really want to get fiddly about it.
So what's it like to drive an Alfa Romeo Stelvio? It's actually quite nice all in all. It's an SUV, so obviously it's not going to be terribly fast, and obviously it's not going to handle terribly well. But with that said, it actually is reasonably quick, and it handles pretty well. I've been really surprised by how well this thing handles in particular. It's funny because since this is a press car, they give you this little card, and it tells you about what's in the car and so on, and it says at the top, Stelvio, the SUV for the S-curves, which admittedly is a little bit cheesy, but it's actually kind of accurate. I've been stunned by how much fun I've been able to have weaving through traffic, if that's your cup of tea, or a highway on or off ramp. It's the sort of thing where another taller car would feel like it's just going to fall over, whereas the Stelvio feels like its center of gravity is much lower than you would expect. I've been really pleasantly surprised. Furthermore, when you get this four-cylinder, this turbocharged four-cylinder in the correct part of the rev range, it actually goes pretty well. It's better than the 300 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque or thereabouts would lead you to believe. It would make you think in a car this big and heavy and tall that it wouldn't really be enough to get you up the road. But this thing moves, especially for an SUV. That being said, I can only imagine how much fun the Stelvio Quadrifoglio will be, which has been teased but not formally announced. I'm assuming that it would have the twin-turbo 6-cylinder out of the Giulia Quadrifoglio I tested about a month or two ago, and that, in this car, would be quite an adventure.
So what do I think of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio? Well, it's really nice. There's a lot to like about it. It's really, really quick. It handles really, really well. It's not yet another X3 or Q5 or what have you. If you wanted a small SUV that says, I want something different, I want to think different, then this is a really great option. The Stelvio brings a lot to the table. But at the same time, at $55,000, I would have expected to see things like maybe a little bit of automated driving controls. I would have expected to see a bird's eye view camera, which I don't have. In fact, I would have liked to have seen a slightly larger display for the backup camera. These are small things to complain about, sure, but if you're going to buy a $55,000 SUV from a make that we don't really have a whole lot of evidence whether or not Alfa Romeo is reliable or not, it's a little bit of a bold choice, but in the end of the day, that's what makes it so much fun, isn't it? Because you're not just yet another Audi or BMW driver. And in that sense, if you're looking for something different, Stelvio is a good choice. As always, thanks for watching.